Welcome back to the Sip and Feast podcast, episode number 35. What to serve and not to serve on your first date, and what not to wear on your first date. Tara's laughing at me right now. Hey, you got me this. You got me this.
I did. It looks really good. I just think it's like an odd combination with the microphone. Like it's like good for like when you're outside.
Should I take it off?
No.
Just go back to the shirt?
No.
Well, now you have all the incentive to watch the video instead of just listen. No, in all honesty, the content is exactly the same whether you watch it on YouTube or consume it on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast listening app. But Tara, what are we talking about today?
What you can serve to impress a first date. And we'll also talk about maybe some things you don't want to serve on a first date.
And again, maybe we won't go into what you shouldn't wear on a first date.
I'll preface this by saying it's been a very, very long time since either of us have been on a first date.
That's
right?
what you think.
Oh my
That's
God.
what you think.
Good luck to you if you're taking him on a first date.
She's like, that's
You
why I
can
got you.
have him.
That's what she's like, wear the vest. Please wear the vest tonight.
No, Godspeed. Anyway, the dating environment has certainly evolved, right?
God.
Since we met.
I feel bad for young people now who have to deal with these meeting on apps and all that. And that's not really the point of this. What we're doing today.
They
here,
might
but
feel bad that we had to like meet in person.
I heard that actually. I read this. This is recently. They said they polled in the city. It was a high number. It was like 80% of men under 26 have never approached a woman in their life.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, and it's
Where did you read that? You don't remember?
I think it was the New York Times. I'm not positive. I've heard this a lot. And, there's reasons for it, that politic reasons that we're obviously not going to go into on the show because we don't talk politics. But I just felt bad for both the men and the women having to deal with that environment. That kind of stinks.
Yeah.
A woman can't get approached. A man is too scared to approach the woman.
I'll probably say this, like the men who are actually too afraid to approach the women are probably not the ones who would be super aggressive and get themselves into trouble to begin with.
That's right.
Right.
So now they said as a consequence of that, the women are approaching the men.
Okay. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So while it has been a long time since either of us have gone on a date, maybe you don't want to take our dating advice, but I do think a good way to impress a first date is by giving them a wonderful meal.
I don't think there's anything.
There's nothing better.
There's nothing better.
Right?
There is nothing better.
Yeah. So we're going to share some of our recommendations on what to make, maybe what not to make, some things to consider when you're planning your first date menu. And I thought a fun way to kind of ease into this topic would be for me to ask you if you remember our first date, and I put that in quotations.
I don't.
Okay.
Can you give me a little bit more info on this?
So
was it in Albany? Was it in New York? Like in Long Island?
So let me just back up. So we met in a bar.
Yeah.
In Albany, right?
Yeah.
I don't consider that our first date because it was not planned or anything like that. What I consider to be our first date was when you drove home to Long Island, like probably, I think it was like a week or two after we met, and you took me to the movies. I'm going to ask you what we saw.
Don't know.
And we went to the Embassy Diner in Farmingdale, and you ate something. I'm going to ask you what to remember what you ate. And you also asked me to go to your fraternity semi-formal with you while we were at the movie theater.
Okay. I don't remember any of this. I'm going to try, though. So at the diner, since it's a diner, I think I'll probably be able to guess this. It was either a cheeseburger or a gyro. Now, I know it's supposed to say gyro, but gyro. It was one of those two, which I'm going to go with the latter.
Yes.
Okay.
So you did. You ate a gyro or gyro, however you want to say it. And I remember being so impressed because you ate it so neatly. And usually, like, I would say you should never eat a gyro on a first date. It's a mess. It's delicious, but it makes a mess. I mean, that's like definitely like
Yeah.
fifth date and beyond. But you ate it and you ate it very neatly. And it was very impressive. Now, you don't remember the movie that we saw?
No.
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville. Yeah.
Do you remember that movie?
It's funny.
It started out as like black and white, and then it went to color.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a cool movie.
It is. I mean, I thought during that time period, The Truman Show was a much better movie, and they came out around maybe the same year, 2 years apart.
Oh, I don't remember if it was at the same time. But that was what I would consider to be our first date. Now, I will go on to say that, so our first date was like the end of October. And then the next time you came home to Long Island was around Thanksgiving time. And you picked up from Branchinelli's and Hauppauge, you picked up a calzone. And every ounce of every feeling I had of being impressed by your neat eating was wiped out when you ate that calzone.
I remember this. This is when I almost lost her before I even had her.
I was like, what in God's name is happening here? It was the messiest.
So
don't eat a calzone on your first date.
Yes.
Or really ever in front of somebody.
It's I mean, especially the way like a typical New York calzone is. It's not.
It was so messy.
It's never. You know what it is? When you get it from there, you got to let it cool for a while, so the cheese has to re-solidify a little bit.
Yeah, it was like piping hot.
No matter what you do, it's a disaster when you're eating it.
Yeah,
it's good though.
But I was like, oh, he ate that gyro so neatly, and now he's eating a calzone. And it looks like an animal.
Well. Anyway, I guess this is going to propel us into this episode now.
Sorry, I love roasting you. So fun. Obviously, I just gave some examples of the things I've seen you eat. And I said a calzone probably wasn't one of them. So that leads me to ask the question, what attributes of a good first date meal, like what should a good first date meal have?
Well, obviously, it should be easy to eat because, like, don't forget about a calzone. Don't make a whole lobster for someone on your first date. That's one of the messiest eating experiences, bar none.
So anything that you require a bib, probably not first date material.
Yeah, definitely not. It's harder and lobster would be my number one. What is your number one not to do? I don't think anybody's going to make a calzone.
So I do have a separate section that I want to talk about of what not to make.
Okay, so all right.
But
so we'll hold that off.
This is like really attributes. So something that's easy to eat.
Yes.
Maybe something that's like super flavorful or like I'm thinking almost like spicy or something like that. I think would be good.
What about some tapas?
Tapas are good because it's kind of like small finger foods, easy to eat. I think that could be a good one.
I mean, I think it depends on how adept the cook is. So, if you're an experienced cook, maybe this is easy for you. But at the same time, you probably don't want to give yourself too much work either. But I really think if you're capable of doing it, nothing would impress someone more than just a good steak. Just to get a cast iron pan.
But you're getting ahead of me.
Okay.
Because we're talking about like what attributes a meal should have.
Oh, I get it. I can't talk about individuals. Okay, so the attributes would be, easy to eat, not make a mess.
Mm-hmm. What about like...
Not a lot of things to do.
What about like food that's considered like sexy? Like aphrodisiac type of things. But then, I don't know, maybe you don't want to do that on a first date.
Yeah, well, if you do have any intention on doing anything like that, don't feed them too much, okay? Like don't break out like, the gallon of ice cream, after dinner. I would keep it light. I would keep it easy to eat. Mm-hmm. I would keep it where maybe there's not a ton of bites and stuff, so you can actually have a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. I know we're not allowed to talk about individuals, what not to have. There's other ones that I can easily think that are bad. I mean, honestly, not that most people can do this, make it at home, but sushi's great because sushi's like a one biter, you know? Like you get a bite. If you're really adept at eating sushi, you're supposed to take 2 bites from one piece of sushi or even 3.
It's kind of hard to do that.
People in the United States of America, they practice to shove it all in the mouth in one shot bite, you know?
Yeah.
Which I didn't know that until our favorite place. He told me that. He said, you're not supposed to eat it all at once.
You started talking about before some of the, like a steak being one of the things that you would make on a first date. What are some of the other best things to make and kind of with those attributes in mind?
Okay, so a drink, a good drink. I'm thinking you just have some good beer, so maybe craft beer, or something simple, classic like a martini. Because a martini is easy to make. It's easy to make well, okay? There's
What
enough,
about like
there's
a
enough
Manhattan?
videos now showing you exactly how to do it.
What about a Manhattan?
Manhattan's fine too. You know, you got to get a little bit more. It might stain the teeth though, you know?
Ooh, so that's another attribute.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to have anything that's going to discolor your teeth.
Yeah.
So would you avoid red wine then? Because red wine can do that.
Red wine would too.
But I do think red wine is a good first date type of thing.
I mean, you could do white wine too. I really though like the idea of a good beer, just solid beer or martini.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you would want somebody to make for you.
Oh, definitely. If you made me a martini on our first date, I would have married you.
You did marry me, and we were in a diner.
Yeah, no.
And I was not.
And I didn't.
We were not of legal drinking age.
Yeah, we met when we were young. You know, that's why we didn't have too many dates really from when we. I mean, I don't know how many dates Tara had prior to meeting me, but you know, I was kind of like young, so it wasn't.
We were 20.
Yeah, it wasn't
like
like
that.
I wasn't some Casanova, you know, like I wasn't like 28 with like a good job and I could go, you know, dating all the time. It was like I didn't have any money, you know. I wasn't out of college yet.
You don't need a ton of money to cook a nice meal for somebody that you perhaps want to impress on a first date.
By the way, I love that word Casanova. I am in love with that word. I think I'm going to get it tatted on my first tattoo is going to be on my shoulder. It's going to say Casanova.
Okay.
No, somebody said that the other day because I kept using Adonis, and then somebody said Casanova. It was in some show we were watching.
No,
and then
I said Casanova.
You said it?
I would use it to describe Mark Green's character on ER.
On ER. Oh, yeah, I don't know if God, we're dating ourselves. If you watch ER, you should. It's on Hulu, and you can watch the full 15 seasons again. But there was, I don't know what season it was. It might have been season 3 or 4 when he started dating like all
everybody.
He started dating so many people. He got like a motorcycle for like a few episodes, and he was trying to date 3 women in one time. That was an episode.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's when I called him a Casanova. Yeah.
By the way, little trivia for you. I mean, you probably know this. Mark Green, the guy who played Mark Green, his name is Anthony Edwards in real life. He was Goose in the original Top Gun. Mm-hmm. That's right. All right.
Well, we can end the podcast now. I mean, you just gave them some amazingly interesting information about Anthony Edwards. So you said steak. You talked about drinks.
Yeah.
For me, I like to make pasta. I feel safe when I make pasta. I feel confident when I make pasta.
Zone. Yep.
So for me, if I was going to have a first date with somebody, I would probably make them a pasta, but I would make sure that the pasta that I'm making them is easy to eat. So I would probably avoid making anything with a spaghetti or linguine.
Oh, definitely.
And I would probably opt for shorter pasta. In fact, I think that something that I would make to impress somebody would probably be a pasta alla norcina or maybe even like a bolognese.
Yeah, I think bolognese would be good.
With like a penne or rigatoni.
Or you can make homemade pasta and do a rustic, wide pappardelle, just a couple. So you don't have to make long strands of it. Just make fairly short, so everything is easy to eat.
Yep. Now, I would also say that I think you could leverage some of the information that we have in our dinner party
Yes.
episode for first date, right? Because a
Definitely.
lot of it's make ahead. It's stuff that's impressive. So for me, and I'm borrowing from that episode, if somebody was making a meal for me, the one that would impress me most is beef bourguignon.
I like the idea of beef bourguignon too, because it can be, and this is really important, I think, for a first date. When you're trying to talk to your date, you do not want to be, you don't know them well enough yet to say, oh, hey, just sit on the couch for an hour and watch TV while I prepare this elaborate meal for you. You really got to have everything ready to go. It could be minimal cooking, like you can do a steak for them or something very simple like that, but it shouldn't be where you're doing expert plating and, basically ignoring that first date. So the beef bourguignon can be made the day before. It can be hot when they get there. And then all you have to do is just put it in a plate.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could put it, say you made a big batch, you could put it in like a mini Dutch oven. That Dutch oven could be sitting on the table, and then she or he can be across from you. You can open it up and then just serve it right into their bowl, maybe with some bread, or, you could do it with mashed potatoes or polenta or anything.
Like I said, that's one of my favorite meals. And if somebody made that for me, I would be so impressed. But as you were saying that, my mind started to kind of go towards, if somebody fancied themselves a really good cook and wanted to impress me, maybe they would make the food in front of me.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Like,
yeah.
Like I'm almost thinking like in Chef.
Yes.
When Jon Favreau made the linguine aglio olio for Scarlett Johansson. Of course, that's linguine, so it's hard. It's like a little bit harder to eat. You have to twirl your spoon, but I don't know. There was something like very sexy about that.
No, definitely there was something very sexy about that. Was she and him together in that movie?
Yeah, like
because
they weren't like dating. They were like, she was the hostess, I think.
Yeah,
at the restaurant, and he was the chef.
So I'm like, they had to have been. She was like laying on.
Yeah,
they
were
bed.
like hooking up.
Yeah, they should like who would do that?
Yeah,
like, but then I don't remember them being together after that point.
No, because the whole rest of the movie was him trying to get back with his ex-wife.
That's right.
Or trying to like make amends with her and his son.
That's right. Okay.
He had some good-looking ladies in that movie.
Hey, he's the one who made the movie. He can put anybody. It's like Adam Sandler.
I'll have Sofia Vergara and Scarlett Johansson.
I can see the ladies like in Jon Favreau, but the funniest one is Adam Sandler. He, in all his movies, not all of them, but a lot of them, what was the one we just watched that he had some, was it Clicked or something?
Kate Beckinsale in Click.
Yeah, in Click. Like he's always got like this wife, and it's like he's not Adam Sandler in the movie. He's this like regular guy, and it's like but yeah, he's the one who makes the movies. He owns the whole production, and he can make his wife look like whoever he wants.
Well, good for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
Well, appetizers too. We spoke about drinks. Appetizers, I would just make them really simple too. Couple easy finger foods. So if you had like a nice pesto or some type of maybe like something that again won't be too messy, but then you could just put on mini crostinis or something along those lines, I think would be really good. I mean, honestly, stuffed mushrooms would be great too, because stuffed mushrooms you can make ahead, and stuff fairly small ones, that's like a 1 or 2 biter for someone.
Yeah.
So very simple. One. Yeah.
What about like champagne and some creme fraiche and caviar?
It depends how, I mean, you know what it is? Some people could be turned off by that. Like if you are going on a first date and some guy like has like a $300 jar of caviar and champagne, you're probably thinking like, okay, like, this guy,
Okay, so that actually brings up a good topic. So yes, it's a first date, but you should also try and know the person a little bit before you decide to cook for them. So
it's your first cooking date.
Yeah, it's your first cooking date, really.
So it could be like date number 5.
Right. So you should really know what their likes and dislikes are. Like you recommended a craft beer. Well, what if the person doesn't like craft beer? Or what if the person doesn't drink alcohol? Then you should really get to know what the person's likes are. I would also say maybe ask them if they have a food allergy, right? And take that into consideration, or,
Okay, so yeah, allergies, obviously that's uncontrollable to people. Nothing that someone can do about that. Now, this kind of leads me into, are there any deal breakers for like a first cooking date? Like, is there anything that you're on there and you're making this, is there anything that would turn you off about the person? Say you like them, you think they're good looking, you're attracted to them, all that. But is there a deal breaker for you? I mean, honestly, I'm just being honest here. I think there's some deal breakers for me.
Are you talking about food deal breakers?
Yes. Like if they're a picky eater, would that be a deal breaker for you?
Yes.
It kind of would be for me too. I'm just being honest, because I guess it's because food is such an important part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'd want to. I mean, there are some people that would be open to changing their eating habits for the person, but I would imagine that a lot of picky eaters like how their eating habits are, Tara. I don't think they want to change for someone.
To me, there are two types of picky eaters. There are picky eaters who just don't like anything, who just want to eat pizza or chicken nuggets or, things like that. That would be a deal breaker for me. But if a person is a pickier eater because of maybe health reasons, or because they have a strict gym regimen where they eat really, really healthy, and then they have like that one cheat day a week, I would be fine with that.
I wouldn't be. Not with the gym people.
I would.
That person has narcissists written all over them.
I don't think so.
I do.
I disagree. And the other thing that would be a deal breaker would be the Liver King.
Oh God, the Liver King.
I'm sorry,
that guy's gonna cease and desist us.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It was just kind of like a joke, throwing back to the other episode. But yeah, no, I mean, if somebody asked me to make organ meat for them, I would just say, nah, I think you need to.
You say, nah, bro?
Nah, bruh. I think you need to find someone else.
As far as the gym one goes, though, I do think that it's fine to be 19 and be a narcissist about your looks and being like on super strict diet, cheat meals.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're in your 30s, though, I think the dynamic starts to change.
Yeah,
a lot.
but this episode is for everyone. This isn't just for, I think a lot of the people listening might be younger and going to the gym. And
well, yeah, then I'm talking to you if you are 20. I mean, look, when I was young, I don't know if I ate better. I was really into working out, though.
You were. You didn't.
Yeah.
But you. I don't think you ever really restricted your diet.
No, I didn't.
I think you were conscious.
Kind of bulky.
Yeah, you were conscious of the amount of protein you were eating. Like you would eat. I remember you would eat cans of tuna, just like straight out of the can.
Yeah.
But you didn't hesitate to like suck down that calzone in like 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I used to be big, like really big. I was 220 pounds on our wedding day of a lot of muscle. And now I'm 190 pounds of a lot of fat. So that's a huge difference. Like I weigh less and I have about half the strength I had at that time. So
that's hot.
Well, hey, I mean, I'm 45 years old,
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a little more cushion on me than when we met.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. Like I remember being in the gym when I was that age and looking at the 45-year-olds in the gym.
Yeah. Look like dinosaurs.
Well, they were always so funny to me because they were like, that's the age I am now. And these people to me looked like dinosaurs, like Tara's saying. Like they would come in the gym and stretch for like 40 minutes. I'd be like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, but they needed to. Like I get out of bed in the morning and I pull a muscle, so like I totally get it, but I didn't get it back then. Like there was this guy who was so big. He was like bigger than me. Like he looked stronger than me in every way. His legs looked bigger, his arms, everything. I used to be able to lift twice what he could in every exercise. And I would just ask him. I'd be like, what, like, what's going on here? He'd be like, just wait. He'd be like, just wait, pal, you know? And like, he would always be using the Smith machine, like the automated machine.
Yeah.
But that's what happens. And the guy might have been even 50, but that's what happens when you get to that point. So I don't know. I'm thinking
Unless
about
you're
making
Izzy Mandelbaum.
Izzy Mandelbaum. I'm thinking I would make a comeback though, Tara.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I think it would be good. I think it would be good for both of us to do that. So Jim, anything else you want to talk about like some of the best meals to make on a first date?
I don't really think this is about like specific things. It's more about like what I think the bourguignon and stuff like that, that's impressive, but where you're not really taking a lot from the conversation, and you're not allowed to be an ultra narcissist when it comes to cooking until you're married to the person. You know, then you can be like really into yourself and be like, I'm watching this guy named Sip and Feast. And you know, now you're not going to watch me if you're an ultra narcissist anyway. You're probably watching like, I don't know what you're watching, to be honest, but you're not watching me. But you're probably like really hyper focused on plating and all that. And there's a time for that, but probably in the beginning when you're on those beginning dates, I would hold back on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's move it on to which I guess is important, what not to make.
Yeah, so I have like a few things here that I listed, and I actually just thought of another one.
Okay, well, add it in there.
There are certain foods, for me personally, and I think it happens for other people, that causes them to have the hiccups. And for me, it's often if food is a little bit spicy. So, like, I know jalapenos can do that to me. Definitely like the pepperoncini, which aren't even spicy. Like, I can have like spicy Thai food, but for some reason, it's like the more mild spicy ones that have a greater effect on me.
They're in vinegar.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it is, but there are like, I know there are other people out there that if they consume really spicy food, they will also have the hiccups.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of like embarrassing to have the hiccups on a first date.
Yeah, it would be. And you know, when you have hiccups, you think they're never going to go away.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have to drink water and you have to like just, I don't know. It's kind of embarrassing.
That's not so bad. I mean, what would be really bad would be like if it was like Dumb and Dumber, where you had to go to the bathroom.
Well, maybe you shouldn't. Pro tip: don't serve X-Lax to your date on a first date. Yeah, or whatever that was called. Okay. So I just had that thought now. But another thing I thought, like, you want to make sure that you're not eating something or serving something that's really messy. So I would probably avoid something like wings, right, which are very messy. They get all over your face. Ribs, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, now listen, if you're in the South, probably most states are about brisket and ribs.
Yeah, maybe you want to avoid anything that like would cause food to get stuck in your teeth, like corn on the cob.
Oh, or like meat. I get everything gets stuck in my teeth now because we're getting
a little personal in this
that's all right.
episode.
I don't care if people know about this. So you can actually look at YouTube. When I started, my teeth were not nearly as pretty as they are now. So I had Invisalign, and when you have Invisalign, it's basically braces for adults because if you do get braces, the process is faster. But then you might feel a little self-conscious being in your 40s with braces. Invisalign, you can't see. You wear these plastic things every week or two. You change them, and it moves your teeth a micro amount. But what happens is it straightens all your teeth out. Inevitably, it will make too much movements in some direction. So right over here on the right side of my mouth is where food always gets stuck. So this never used to happen before. Now I have to floss after every single meal, which most people don't do that. So it's...
This sounds like something Uncle Bob, not Bob the listener, but like your fictional Uncle Bob would be talking about.
I'm just telling you. I mean, that's if you're thinking about getting your teeth straightened, they'll tell you that. The dentist who I went to, he told me that that's one downside to it. If there's actually too much of a gap, then they have to do some more work on you.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise had a ton of work done to his teeth, so much that his teeth were very out of balance. If you look at pictures of him, the middle tooth here, everything is shifted so far to one side.
Really?
So it's like, it's a huge, like you see the image, it's like, what, So that's That's how they work.
Yeah.
The bottom line is if you got the money and you have kids, get your kids braces when they're young. Don't wait till they're older, or because then they'll have to pay for it for themselves. Thanks, Mom. You got my brother braces, but not me. No. She said I didn't need them at the time. Your teeth move when you get older, and that's what happened to me. I wouldn't have cared about it if I wasn't doing YouTube.
Yeah.
The only reason I went to get it done is because I was doing the YouTube videos, and I wanted to look unbelievable.
Okay. Nice tangent. Don't serve anything that's going to get stuck in your teeth, right? Whether you've had Invisalign
That's
or
right.
not. What about like a burger? Because I feel like burgers are they can be neat, but they can also be super messy. So I would avoid serving burgers on a first date too.
Burgers are way too messy for a first date. I mean, they're kind of messy for any date. I think you got to wait till you're married to eat a burger. No, okay. I mean certain burgers, but like a big fat burger, that juicy burger, I would definitely avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like a small thin burger or like a McDonald's cheeseburger is not.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be taking your date to McDonald's.
Hey, you know,
unless you're like 17, 18,
I don't
then
know.
you can do it.
You know, no, but we had Five Guys the other night. That burger is not too messy.
A Five Guys burger can be messy though. When James gets lettuce on his, it becomes super messy and slippery.
Avoid the lettuce.
Yeah, avoid.
He got every topping. He so you could just so you know how fast James is growing. He gets the double burger at Five Guys, so that's like the adult burger. So it's double cheese, and then he gets a hot dog. And he got a hot dog with every topping on it the other day. So it was like this disaster, like completely saturated bun. And then he gets all frustrated then when he tries to pick it up, and that he can't hold it. Remember like a year ago how mad he was getting?
Yeah.
Like he'd get furious when he had a burger and it would come out of the bun. So and he's doing that in the fries. So he could probably eat more than I can.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also said, and we talked about it before, but I said spaghetti because that can be kind of messy depending on how proficient you are at twirling. If you're a perfect twirler, then yeah.
Too hard.
It's too hard. What about garlic? Because I know some people will say, "Oh, you shouldn't eat too much garlic if you're on a date because then you're going to smell like garlic." But if you're both eating the garlic, then doesn't it just cancel each other out? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, garlic does cancel itself out if you both have it. Garlic is something that is just, depending on how it's prepared. I think if you do it in a red sauce where you're doing the cloves in the oil, I think like that's a better way. If you're doing where you have like raw garlic or something like that, then like even like the garlic you put in like tzatziki sauce. Like, when you eat tzatziki sauce and you're like, oh man, like you just like feel the garlic.
Because it's like burning because it's raw garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that. I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. Anything else you'd avoid first date food?
I know I'm missing a lot of them here. Anything that has potential to splatter on the shirt or dribble down your face, or to make you uncomfortable. Like a wing isn't just messy, but if the hot sauce, if they're hot enough, like I eat a lot of wings, so like when it hits like your lips and then your lips start burning, and then you know what I'm talking about. That's not good either, because then you might have like a red ring around your mouth, and you're looking at her into her eyes. She just goes, "That's it. I'll see you later."
That's a deal breaker.
Yeah. Now, there's a lot of these things you can do once you're married that you shouldn't do before that.
Well, I think you can. You don't have to be married. Just being like a longer relationship.
Longer relationship.
Yeah.
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 All right.
I mean, because you got pretty comfortable with me.
I think I waited a while. I mean, to this day, I don't try to be messy or anything. I try my best, but yeah, there's certain foods that no matter how good of an eater you are, like a lobster, I mean, they give you a bib for a reason.
Yeah.
I
think a lobster tail you could kind of get away with.
Oh, lobster tail, but it's a completely different ball game when you're talking a whole lobster. Lobster, you get your cracker, your lobster cracker, you get your pins, you know, the pins they give you.
Yeah.
And, it
It's
depends
a
how,
messy
depends how
thing.
serious you're going to be, like how much meat you want to extract from that lobster. But
Yeah.
it's not something like to do unless you really love the person and they love you.
Then I ask you to remove some of the meat for me
Yeah.
from the
The
lobster.
pin, in case you don't know, the pin is used because typical lobster in a restaurant, where especially if you're getting like the lobster deal, they'll only give you like a 1.25 pound lobster, which it's kind of too hard to do it. But if you have a bigger lobster, so like a 2.5 pounder, the actual legs themselves, the little legs, will have a lot of meat in them too, and the pin can roll that
like a
meat
rolling
and
pin.
it can push it out. And then, that's used for like when you're making lobster rolls, they will get all the meat out of it.
Or lobster salad.
Yeah, lobster salad, because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
All right, so I hope that gave you some ideas. It's been a long time since I had like that pressure and that excitement of, making. I'm just saying it's a good thing for people. Like they get to experience that. Like a relationship goes through stages. So the beginning stage, when you start cooking some stuff for people, for the person that you're maybe going to marry, it's a learning experience. Like you guys think about how exciting it was when we were young, when we were trying dishes for the first time.
Yeah.
Think about how exciting it was for you when you were trying it. And, I had great joy just showing you some food that you never had before.
That's true.
So I'm a little jealous that people get to experience that. Remember the first time you ever had something? It's like etched into your memory forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first time you had a good steak.
That was with you.
First time you had Indian food.
The first time I had steak was at the Butcher Block in Albany.
Yeah.
With
And that
you.
wasn't even like really a good steakhouse. It was like kind of mid-tier.
Yeah.
But like first time you had good Indian food. First place you had Peking duck. First time you had sushi. The first time you had lobster fra diavolo. The first time you had beef bourguignon. Like these are all dishes that are etched into your memory forever.
Yeah. Well, we talked about the food memories too.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And that was one of my favorite episodes that I was glad that we did. And if you haven't listened to that one, I recommend you do, because the memories of all this stuff is kind of, to me, is some of the most important memories I have.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go into the questions.
Okay. So the first question is actually not for you.
Oh,
It's for
nice.
me.
I should read it then.
Well, yeah, you can read
Okay.
it.
This is from Mary. Tara, could you show us how to make a frittata? I've been hearing about your frittatas for all this time, and I know Jim has one, but I don't think it's that good. Can you tell me how to make it? Mary, I'm joking, Mary. I know you didn't say all that.
So thank you, Mary, for asking about how I make frittatas. But my answer for you is that I make it exactly the same way that Jim does. But what I usually do is just take stuff that's laying around in the fridge and add it. So for example, the other day I made a frittata using Jim's recipe as kind of my guide. Like I use like his ratio of eggs. I think it's 8 eggs and a cup of
10. I think it's
quarter cup of
10
no,
or
it's
12.
8 eggs, quarter cup of milk, maybe a cup of pecorino romano cheese. And then from there I kind of just deviated. So we had leftover potatoes from the Italian chicken potatoes dish that Jim had made the other night. And I took the leftover potatoes and I just diced them up, threw them in the pan, mixed up the eggs, milk, cheese mixture. I added diced fresh mozzarella cheese.
Okay.
And I kind of cut a whole bunch of sun-dried tomatoes into slivers.
That made it good.
And I added that as well. So that's what I try and do. I take stuff that's laying around in the fridge that needs to go. Sometimes I'll do it with ham, or sometimes I'll do it with other. There is one frittata recipe on the website that I did create, and that is the sweet potato, goat cheese, and spinach frittata. That was my creation. But that still was created using Jim's master potato frittata recipe as the guide.
You don't have to be really precise with making a frittata, and you don't really have to be precise with any recipe. Like, of all the recipes we make, nothing has to be set in stone. That's the one thing we always try to stress. I try to stress it every time in the videos. Like, if you don't have this ingredient, it's going to be okay. Like, if Tara substituted a different type of cheese for the fresh mozzarella, if she put in less pecorino, if she put in a little bit more milk, it all really would have been okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And but that's how you learn how to make things perfect, and you always have to be willing to adapt.
There is one thing that I do consistently though, and I'm always using that. I think you said it was an 11-inch, which is really random, an 11-inch cast iron pan, and I use the same pan every single time.
Yeah, I think it probably is a 10-inch. It's probably just the way it's flared. I probably measured from the
yeah. So I
part.
always start with that. I start it on the stovetop and then move it into the oven to finish.
Yeah. A cast iron's nice because you get it hot initially. You pour your eggs in. The pan stays hot, so when it bakes in the oven, it will take a little bit less time. Like if you were to just mix your eggs and put them into a baking dish, it would take probably another 10 minutes to.
Yeah.
And then you're just cooking it until, you could just put a toothpick in there, and that it's not too wet when you pull it out.
Right.
That's it.
Right. And then let it settle for a few minutes and then serve it.
That's it.
Right?
It's
I
like
always
the perfect
serve it with
meal.
a salad too.
Yeah.
A salad is the way to go with that.
It is one of the best weeknight meals. It's a home run every time. Every time Tara makes it, I'm always like, oh, I wish there was more. You know, especially the sun-dried tomato one the other night. That one was so good. So we're going to put that up on the site too.
Yep.
Though, if you want to get ahead of it, just put a bunch of crap in with eggs and sun-dried tomatoes and bake it, and it'll be good.
Yeah. Okay, Jim, the next question is from Anne. I was gifted a 14-inch stainless frying pan for Christmas, similar to the one you use all the time, and it got me thinking, how do you store all the pans you have? Ones that are this big don't fit well in any cabinet or shelf. Do you have a pot rack? We don't usually get to see that side of your kitchen or setup, so I'm curious.
And I think I will do a behind the scenes. I think I'm going to probably do it on Patreon. I don't know if you subscribe to the Patreon or not. I mean, I do show stuff occasionally on Instagram. Like I'll just do very quick and dirty videos, which on Instagram often you can see a lot of behind the scenes. But I might make a longer one for Patreon. So the way our setup is now, we have the kitchen that we're filming in. It's a small kitchen. It is. And there's not a lot of room side to side. Like when you're looking at me on the frame, it's only a few feet in each direction. It's just not a lot. And there's no really room for a lot of storage. I do have right to my left there. So when I'm looking at the screen to my left, there is from Restaurant Store, industrial metal pot rack. So this was probably $100. It's has a shelf, and then it has hooks that go underneath it. And this thing could hold like 1,000 pounds of pans, but it's only 36 inches wide or 42 inches wide. So I can't hold that many. So I have one there. I put stuff on top of it. I put like lids on top of it. And then I put some of my bigger pans on it. I don't put that 14-inch pan there, but then I have another one of those in our photography area, which is the other room off to the side. And a similar size rack, and I do hang the 14-inch. I hang like this big all-clad stainless roaster. I hang a lot of just things that are too long over there, and then underneath that, these are great. You can get them at Costco. You can get them on Costco.com too. They're these like stainless or aluminum coated wire racks that have like 3 levels, and they're on wheels. And I have one underneath there, and that one holds like a bunch of my Dutch ovens and a bunch of other stuff. And I have like 8 of those. They were like 150 each. They were all over holding stuff. And I have more wire racks. And I mean, we're running this whole business here, so we need a lot more stuff to store. But those would work for you. Check Restaurant Store, because you're getting the industrial ones that restaurants use. The stuff on Amazon is often kind of flimsy and won't last you that long.
Yeah, I mean, in our regular kitchen, we do have where's that pot rack from?
That one is from Amazon, and it's called Old Dutch. So that one is good. It was either from Amazon or Home Depot. It was about $200. And that one is black, powder coated black. It's much more stylish than the other ones are. The other ones are industrial. They're they're literally for a restaurant. But the one in our regular kitchen is mounted into the ceiling, which I was a little shaky there, because in our ceiling, the joists are running in 2 different directions because the room turns over there. So I was like, having to locate them was causing me problems. But you got to make sure that you do this correctly, or you have a contractor who knows what they're doing, because I have about 400 pounds of pots hanging from there. So you take these big hooks and screw them into the joists in the ceiling.
I think another option, they do have like over the door hanging type of things for pots. Didn't we have, when we lived in Minnesota, we had the pantry, and we hung pots on the back of that pantry door.
Right. And
that's a good option too.
And I did buy another one of those that I didn't even take out of the box yet. If you have a door, ideally a solid wood door, if you have like a closet pantry area and you're not using the other side of that door for storage, you're missing out on a lot. The thing that Tara's describing can go on the whole entire door, and you could put a bunch of pots and pans on there.
Yeah.
Because that's empty space. When the door's closed,
right.
there's nothing there. So if you can use that for storage, it's great. And then when you open the door, it's right there in front of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope that helps, and good luck with that pan. It's an awesome pan. I think you probably did get the one from Webster on Store, and yes, it is tremendous. It's probably 30 inches long from the end of the pan to the handle. All right, so listen, I mentioned it in last week's episode. Again, leave your comments, questions, give us a video. Send us a video. You can DM me on Instagram. Okay, it's just @SipAndFeast. That's my Instagram. If you're not following Instagram, definitely follow us there. You could also send me audio there. You can DM, or you could send it all to our email address at podcast@sipandfeast.com. If you just want to leave a regular question, that is totally fine too. We just want to get you a little bit more involved here, I think. I think it'll be nice to flash them across the screen here on YouTube, or you will be able to hear it on Spotify, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform. You got anything else, Tara?
I think that's it. Good luck on your first dates.
Yes, good luck on your first dates. It's exciting time.
Or your 100th date. I mean,
No, I know. And I guess it came across a little bit as we were talking to like people like in their early 20s.
It could be them. It could be people also who are, maybe they're venturing back out into the dating world, whether it be as a result of a dissolved or divorced. Yeah. Or maybe they're widowed, or, and they're getting back into the dating world.
Maybe they're just starting to have dates with the love of their life that they've been married to for 40 years, but they want to have dates again. People get they renew their vows and they do everything again.
That's true.
So maybe they're renewing their dates.
I would love to go on a date with you. Will you take me on one?
Hey, remember Casanova on my shoulder, so.
Oh, God.
It's no problem. No problem.
Okay.
No, it's, hopefully some of this helped you. All right. We'll see you next time.